Hello, members of Grace. This is Brad Slusselman. This video is to inform you on some of the ideas we have for resuming in-person services at Grace beginning Sunday, May 3rd here at the church. What we want to do is we set this up in basically three pieces. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go through the proclamation or the guidelines that Governor Reynolds put out there on April 27th with respect to guidance for spiritual and religious gatherings. I'm also going to, as we go through the points, there are four main points for the guidance document. I am going to basically describe to you how we intend to move forward with addressing those bullets. And then the third part of this, and at the end of it, is I am going to ask for feedback, questions, comments, concerns in the form of email or phone call to myself or pastor. We definitely want feedback. We want your perspectives. And so that'll be the last part of this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through a series of slides. We've got some pictures in here. We've got some drawings and stuff to give you an idea on what we're going to be doing beginning May 3rd, our Sunday worship service here at Grace. So what I'm going to start with is the first slide is on, like I said, on April 27th. Governor Reynolds basically said that, hey, we're gonna allow spiritual and religious gatherings to occur during the COVID-19 time, and the proclamation or the guidance says that May 1st, as of May 1st, 2020, Iowans may once again gather for spiritual or religious purposes. Now, there are some providing components to this. The first one is that we provide options to conduct activities from home or through remote or audio video services. And so if you look at the details of that a little bit further, this first bullet that she put out there, it basically is recommending that holding a remote service or continuous access will help protect those who should continue to avoid gatherings, especially our most vulnerable, Iowans with pre-existing medical conditions or those over 65. So that's what the first bullet is. So here's what Grace is planning on doing as we move forward with this. So we have been live streaming our services for the past 7 weeks since this outbreak began. You can find all of our services or sermons on our YouTube page. You can see the link on the picture below, www.youtube.com channel, and then the code to get into the channel. This link works, but I don't know if it'll work in the video, but it works if I click on it now. So what about live streaming services? Well, one of the good things that, one of the positives that's come out of this virus is that until last month, there was little consideration on live streaming services from the church. COVID-19 came in and changed that immediately. Now we've been able to reach out to people beyond our immediate 5-county area. So what we have is we have members from basically, I believe I've captured it in Marion County, Mahaska County, Keokuk County, Wapello County, and Jefferson County. And if we look at those main 5 areas that are where our core of our congregation comes from, we have been spreading the gospel beyond those areas. In fact, we've had past members that live in Florida that have been been viewing the live streaming. We have people, past members from the congregation that now live in Wisconsin that are part of that regularly join the the live streaming. But we also have had friends. We've had friends and viewings from, we know, Arizona, from other parts of Iowa, and around. So we're basically, we have a kind of a mission going here with these live streaming services. And so what we want to do is we want to make sure that that outreach continues. So at our last quarterly meeting, the voters approved exploring ways to permanently broadcast our services. So that's gonna continue even once we're back going with normal services, once we get back to some sort of normalcy, whenever that is and whatever that looks like. So again, Grace will continue to live stream for our services for those who are the high risk category. So again, like the governor put in her proclamation guidelines, those of you over 65 are in that high risk, or people that have underlying conditions are in that high risk. Or if you're just feeling under the weather, or you just don't feel comfortable congregating at this time. We know that there's a certain nervousness or apprehensiveness about coming into the church in a sort of gathering at this time. And so we want to make sure that you have the opportunity to still take part in the service, or be part of the service, or view the service if you just don't feel comfortable congregating at this time. The second bullet that was part of the proclamation guidelines was that churches should consider smaller in-person services or conducting services outdoors. And so when we look at this and we look at the size of our congregation, which is fairly small, the multiple services does not seem that applicable. However, if necessary, we will we will consider this. The reason why I say that is, if our congregation was 400 or 500 people, like a lot of churches are, a lot of the bigger churches, it would be hard to say, okay, we want to have, a social distancing sort of thing, and we can't have 300 people in a service. It just wouldn't work with the social distancing guidelines. And so our congregation in any given week is relatively small. What I'm going to do is I'm going to table this for time being, the second part of this, because I'm going to cover more of this in the coming slides. So when we start talking about the people that show up, how do we get the social distancing, and how do we create that separation if we have the space, and how many people can we have, and that sort of stuff. So I'm going to come back to this point. But the second point that has been the proclamation is that we should consider smaller in-person services or conducting outdoor services. The third point that's in the proclamation is that the churches need to follow sanitation and hygiene measures for all in-person gatherings, or in-person religious gatherings. And so one thing to note is that particularly this church, our church here at Grace, we really only occupy the church one day a week, and it's Sundays. We don't do a lot of stuff during the week where we have people come in and out of the doors, and we continuously have the problem with stuff getting contaminated by people touching doorknobs and that sort of stuff. So what we would plan to do is we would plan to, prior to the service Monday morning or Sunday morning, all pews would be disinfected. So you can see in the picture here on the right, we've gone out, we've bought a pretty good supply of sanitation spray. This particular product that we've purchased is a little bit more expensive than the average, but it is if you follow the directions and you apply it in a certain way, it has a 24-hour time period where it will continue to kill bacteria for 24 hours. Once it's sprayed on, we don't wipe it off. You let it dry. Our thought is that if we spray it on at 8 o'clock in the morning on Sunday and we let it dry before people get in here, and then people can come in. If they happen to touch a pew or touch a doorknob or whatever it is, and I'm going to come back to that touching, because there really shouldn't be anything you have to touch, but we're going to come back to that piece as well. That this stuff will kill on contact, and it'll keep killing the bacteria for a 24-hour period. If we're in the church for an hour or two on Sunday, then what we'll do is we'll come back in the following Sunday after it's gone a whole week or whenever we have the next meeting or next event. We would then respray everything down again and do the process over again. So just so you understand, we will be spraying down and disinfecting all touchable surfaces in the church prior to worship on Sunday. The other thing that we're going to be doing is just inside the entry doors, there will be a table set up, the one you see here in the picture, that will have an assortment of hand sanitizers. We are asking for a germ-free worship area, so we are asking everyone that enters the church disinfect or sanitize your hands prior to entering the sanctuary. So what we will do is we'll have a person manning this table, and they will, whatever your choice is, they will give you a little pump of hand sanitizer in your hands. You'll wash your hands, you wipe your hands with hand sanitizer, and then we will take you into the worship area. At this time, we do not have masks available. So if you're worried about the airborne pathogens and that sort of stuff, the airborne particulates that are in the air, you're going to probably want to bring your own mask. It's just at this point in time, trying to purchase masks, we just can't do it, and we just haven't found anybody to make a bunch of masks yet. So again, if you choose to come to service, there will be a hand sanitizer chunk that you'll have to do, and if you would like to wear a mask, you'll need to bring your own. As far as maintaining sanitation, we will have attendants on duty. So our plan is that all doors in the church would either have a door attendant or be propped open. So there should be no need for any member of the congregation to handle or grab a door handle, with the exception of restrooms. As Dr. Fauci would say, please wash your hands. So we can sanitize a restroom handle. If you use the restroom, you're going to come out. You can still hand sanitize before we go into the church area. But there's no need. Once you step out of your car, you're going to come to the front door. There's going to be a door attendant there. They're going to open the door so you can come in. All the interior doors of the church will be propped open, so you won't have to touch a door handle there. Again, when you sit down, obviously if you touch the pews will have been sprayed down. And so we're doing everything we can to minimize the risk of catching a germ that we don't want people to catch. A couple things we want to ask folks is that there are going to be some changes going on at the church as far as when we conduct these that is going to be different than you're used to. In these times, we have to do some things differently, and this is one of those situations where we've done some things in the church that are completely different than you're probably normally used to. It's going to all start with entering the church. We're going to ask you to enter the church through the new addition, which is the ramped area. That's the only door you're going to be able to come in. We're going to have signage up so that you can see that. And then the old entrance, where the coat area is, would serve as the exit. So what we're going to do is we're going to create almost a traffic pattern where the flow of traffic will come in one door and leave or exit another door. So it's like a one-way street. We're going to ask you, if you choose to come, to please follow signage and instructions when entering and exit the church. I'm going to come back to the exiting part here in a little bit when we start talking about how are we going to keep people from coming in contact with one another when we're exiting the church. And even so, how are we going to keep people from contacting each other when we enter the church? And so we're going to talk to you a little bit about how we're going to do that in the upcoming slides. There will not be a passing of the offering plate. The offering plate has been set up on a little pedestal in the narthex or the fellowship area of the church, as you see in this photo. So we're going to have the door propped open like you see. We'll have the offering plate on this little stand. When you walk by to take your seat, if you so choose to drop off an offering, you would just drop it in the plate, and that's all you need to do. Now, the big thing that we have here is the social distancing guidelines. How do we keep people from coming in contact with other people? And so when we look at this one, this is the fourth bullet of the proclamation. And this is the last one of the proclamation, but it's critically important that we maintain social distancing guidelines. So what we have here is, this is a drawing of a plan view of the church. I apologize for the simplicity of the drawing. It's just kind of a sketch that I put together. If you're not following this, or you have a tough time following it, the front of the church is over here on the left-hand side of the drawing. That's where the altar is, and where Pastor does most of his sermons and readings. And so that will give you a perspective, I guess, an orientation on where he will be standing. And then these rectangles here, some are shaded in with a red hatch, and some of them are blank. These are the pews. The circles then would represent a person sitting oriented in the middle of the circle. And if your bubble and another bubble do not overlap, then that is the 6-foot rule. And so your circle has got a 3-foot diameter. The person behind you or whatever has got a 3-foot diameter. And so if your two bubbles don't overlap, then you're going to be 6 feet apart. So what we're planning on doing, and what we've done, and I've got pictures of this here, and I'm going to show you in a few minutes, is that the pews that are shaded in red are masked off. There's basically a piece of caution tape that goes across the pew. Nobody will be allowed to sit in the red pews. The white pews, or the blank pews, are where people would sit. And our goal right now is to have, if everybody was an individual, you would have one person on each end of the pew. These pews are 10 foot long. So if you sit on the immediate end of say, this open pew here, or you sit on the immediate end of the same pew at the other end of it, you're going to have at least a 6-foot barrier there. So when we start looking at that, if we were to only have a single person in each circle, and I know we have family units, so I'm not going to separate couples. And so if you're husband and wife and you come to church together, we're going to let you sit together. We just have to make sure that if you're sitting together, that there's 6 feet between you and the person that's at the other end of the pew. If you're a family unit and you've got 4 or 5 or 6 people in your family, and you all want to sit in the same pew, again, because you're all a family unit and you all live together, we're going to let you sit in that, we're going to let you fill up that pew. And so, but if we looked at it with respect to each individual circle as a single person, we can have, based on this model, 22 people just in the sanctuary portion of the church. If we happen to get more than that, they're all singles. We do have the balcony we can put people in, and we have some other contingencies as well. So we're going to monitor that as we go through these Sundays to make sure that we achieve the social distancing guidelines. The other thing that's happened with this that we have here is, I said I've got caution tape across the red pews. I also have a caution tape that goes from front to back, halfway down the pew, so that someone coming into the pew knows that I shouldn't, if I enter on the aisle end of the pew, the main center aisle pew main center aisle end of the pew, then you'll sit here on this side of the tape. If you enter on the outside, the little shorter or smaller aisleways on the outside of the church, then you would sit on the other side of the caution tape. So it just gives people an idea that, hey, we're not going to walk through the entire pew. You're going to have to, if you want to sit on the outside, you're going to have to walk down the edge to get there. All right, so then what we're going to do is we are going to kind of show you some photos here. This is what it looks like. So you can see the caution tape across the pew here in the front. This one is roped off. No one can sit there. You can also see that there's caution tape the length of the pew. And so if you wanted to sit on this outside of the pew here, the outside edge, the very far right side, you would have to walk down the aisle, come in the pew, sit down. If you wanted to sit on the inside, you'd walk down the center aisle, you'd sit down. A couple more pictures here. Here's one, another photo where you can see that there's every other pew. So what we've done is we've said, okay, on one side of the church, we're only going to allow people to sit in pews, the even number pews, say 2, 4, 6, 8. And on the other side of the church, we're only going to allow people to sit in the odd pews, which is 1, 3, 5, 7, so forth. So what that does then is that creates, even if you're sitting on the insides, and there's someone on the other side of the aisle from you, because we're skipping pews, that gives you that 6 foot clearance between you and the person that's sitting a little bit in front of you or a little bit behind you. This is a picture from the balcony. You can see that there's the caution tape again. It's every other pew on the right-hand side, and the same thing on the left-hand side. And you can see that we've staggered them so that you're not sitting directly across from a person from the aisle. All right, so what we are going to do is we will, with respect to another part of the social distancing guideline, is we will not have fellowship time at the end of the service. It's great to have that, but it's not possible to do that and have the space. And so when it's time to leave the church, I'm going to go through how we're going to do that, how we're going to exit if we're all sitting in there, how we're going to enter first, and then how we're going to exit. But we need people when it's time to leave and the service is over. We need you to get out. We need you to leave. There'll be someone at the door, the exit door, that'll hold it open for you so that you're not having to touch the door handles. We need you to go straight to your vehicle, get in your car, and then depart. Or if you're going to do communion, we're going to talk about that a little bit too in the end. All right, so the next bullet is we're going to dismiss in a way that allows for separation. And this is going to be completely different. If you're used to coming to church, like I said before, it is going to be a lot different than what you're used to. And this seating and dismissing one is a critical one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to my drawing here, and I'm going to show you how we're going to do this. So when you come to church, if you're the first one here, if you're the first person that comes to the church, again, everything's been sanitized. We've got the tape up. You're coming to church. We are actually going to seat you, and we're gonna make you sit in one of a few places. We're going to fill the front of the church first. So if you're the first one here, we're going to say, okay, you're going to go all the way to the front. You can either pick either the very outside of the front, right pew, or you can pick the middle of the front right pew, or you could pick the middle of the front left pew, or the middle of the front right pews, or the outside of the front left pew. Sorry for the confusion there. So what you're going to do is you're going to come in and you're going to pick one of these 4 circles to sit in. If you pick one of these outside circles, we're going to have you walk down the outside. You're going to pick your spot. You're going to sit there. As more people come in, we're going to fill it up as we go back. So if you're the last person here, you're going to sit the furthest back. Now, when we're that way, if it works out that way, and we do it like that, then there's going to be no chance of you. There shouldn't be any chance of you coming into that 6-foot bubble of somebody else. If you were to sit back in one of these back pews here, then it's very possible from the very beginning, everybody that's going to walk by you is going to come into your bubble. We don't want that. So we're going to make you come all the way front. We're going to fill up the front pews first, and the next row, and work our way back. And then when we exit, when we leave, when service is over, what we are going to do is we're going to start from the back, and we are going to dismiss from the back. So this very back circle in the lower right-hand corner here, we're going to exit out this double door. We're not going to go back out the way we came. That's the entrance mode. And we're going to exit through the double door that's here in the bottom right corner. We're going to go into where the coats are, the vestibule where the coats are normally stored. And then someone will be at that door to let you out. So this bubble in this bottom right corner would go first. And then this next bubble up would go second. then the next circle, and then we just basically stagger our way back out so that you don't have people overlapping. If we were to do it our normal way, we would have these people in the front pews go first, and they would cut across all these other people that are in these pews, and we just don't want that. So that's how we are planning on dismissing. So the question becomes, and this is a big one, because we've had feedback from quite a few of you. Church, go or no go? Do we go to church? Do we not go to church? So the first thing we're going to say is everybody has their own reason for coming to church or staying at home. It doesn't matter to us if you come or you go. It's up to you. If you stay at home, you're watching the live stream. We are going to continue to do that. If you come to church, you're going to see it in person. So those are really your two choices or two options. Your decision is what you choose to do. We want you to make your choice based on an informed choice. So if you want to join by coming here, we've satisfactorily told you how we're going to do this. If we've articulated that appropriately or accurately, then what you're going to do is you're going to come and you're going to join us for church. If your choice is, hey, I just don't feel comfortable, or I'm in that age bracket, or I just don't feel good, I'm sick, and I just don't want to pass any germs on, then you do have the choice of watching it online, but that's a choice that you're going to make. In these times, there is not a wrong choice if you're with us in some way. So all we want is you to be with us, whether it's continuing to watch it on YouTube, or whether you want to come and see it in person. So with that, what we would like is your perspectives. We want to know your thoughts. We want to know your comments. We want to know your concerns. And we also need to know, is there something that we've not done or not covered that is still making you apprehensive about not coming? If it's because you're meeting one of those underlying conditions, or because you're of that age group, then we really understand. If you're I just don't feel comfortable coming back to the church, we'd really like to know what we can do here to ease your apprehension. Is there something we can do? Is there something we can do to make it better? Is it that, okay, you just want more time? Everything's good. We just want you to communicate with us what it is that you need to have happen to feel comfortable or confident that if you come back into the church, that you're gonna feel like you're as safe as possible. So that's the session. That's really what I had tonight to talk about. I hope that you can join us in one form, either online through the YouTube, or coming in person on Sunday. We would look forward to having you. One side note with this is that we are still going to do the communion. The communion is going to be done similar to how we're going to go about the service. We are going to empty the entire church. So the church, once the service is over with, we're going to get everybody out. Everybody's going to get to their car. We will then re-sanitize the church. We'll come in. We'll get the offering or we'll get the distribution of the sacrament ready. We will, while that's happening, we will disinfect the pews again. And then what we will do is, when we are ready, we will bring groups of, say, 5 or 10 people in, trying to stick with that, no more than groups of 10. And what we will do is we will get you in the pews. It's a little different distribution, but it is quite safe in that there is no handling of the wafer. There's no handling of the cup. It will be placed on a paper plate. If you've been here and seen that over the last 6 weeks or 7 weeks, you already know what I'm talking about. If you've not, it's a different way to have the communion, but it allows you to participate in communion without coming in contact with anybody. Those folks would then, when the communion's done, those 5 or 10 people would leave. and we would go grab 5 or 10 more people out of their vehicles and bring them in and sanitize stuff again and do the same thing. So again, there'll be plenty of sanitation. There will be plenty of time to do this. So if you are interested in communion, please ask. Please stick around. We'll help you along. Again, I appreciate everybody's time of watching this video. Uh, we 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 really are concerned about your safety and your well-being. And if you feel like you need to be at church, please come. If you feel like you need to stay at home, please do so. So with that, I thank you for your time. Again, this is Brad Slusselman, and we will see you maybe some Sunday soon. Thank you.